Is your relationship fixable? This is a fair question, and most people ask me this question all the time because they don't know how to measure if their relationship can be fixed or not. They don't know the red flags. They don't know the green flags. And if they see too many red flags and not enough green flags, but their heart is still in it and they want to make things work with their partner, they don't know what to do. If you've been struggling in your relationship, if you're hoping it's fixable, if you want to make an educated decision and you want to give it your best possible shot, this video today is for you. Now, I'm making this video in response to divorce season, which just passed at the end of the summer. As we're heading into the fall, people are finalizing those divorces and they're starting to be hesitant. Some people are starting to break up. And now, heading into the early winter, people are really getting nervous about, am I investing with the wrong person? Did I make a terrible mistake choosing to stay or choosing to invest with them? Right now, what I need you to do is just finish this video. Okay, I am going to show you, based on 15 years of working on psychology and relationships as a marriage and family therapist, as the attachment specialist, as a special coach who comes in and helps people fix almost impossible situations in their relationships. I'm going to show you what I look for when a relationship is fixable and not fixable, and exactly what to do with the ones that are fixable. Okay, red flags that tell me it's not fixable. Number one, the person has no desire whatsoever to give you any kind of grace. You have to do 50 things while they scream at you, and that's the basic ground floor to get them to scream at you slightly less. If a person has no willingness whatsoever to give you any kind of kindness or warmth as a human being at all, that tells me that relationship is probably not fixable. There are a few situations where a person is really amped up following an affair where it can look like that. And sometimes it means navigating through that. Sometimes it's pressure for you to change outside the relationship because they're tired of being the reason you act better. I've seen that. Okay. It's not an excuse, but I've seen it. So there are times, but by and large, if the person is not willing to work with you, they're just going to sort of bludgeon you as an object and make you do what they want. That's more and more not fixable. Hostility. Angry hostility is a thing that I look out very, very, very closely. If they are actively out there pursuing other partners, I also look at that, okay? Because that tells me that they are either so detached from you that they're not interested, or they are malicious and trying to hurt you, and the relationship is probably not going to work. So that's another pretty bad sign. And especially, I should say, they're doing that while also being hostile to you. Okay, very important piece. Sometimes people are just out there because they're more dopamine focused, but it's not hostility against you. Hostility against you coupled with sexual desire and romantic desire for other people, really bad sign. Now, short of that, short of those major pieces and some of the more illegal ones that would get somebody put into prison, those red flags that I'm not even going to mention on here for the censors, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. Short of that, in my experience, the vast majority of relationships can be fixed. Green flags. The person is still talking to you. The person is still hashing out frustrations. Even if they're not productive conversations, they're still talking with you. They're still bothering to talk with you. They're not actively pursuing anybody else. Okay? They might be talking about divorce, but they're not talking about wanting to be with anyone. They say, I just want to be alone for a while. This means their stress cortisol levels are so high that they're just trying to minimize it because they don't know what else to do. Okay, green flags. They are still trying to collaborate with you. They're explaining. They are sticking to some principles, some ethics. They haven't violated those. Another one is that they still hold the same goals. They're pursuing the same goals that both of you have been trying to pursue. They haven't violated those either. In other words, they're still worthy of those first two levels of trust that I teach. Ethics and goals, principles and goals. They're still worthy of those. They're willing to acknowledge that they've done a couple things wrong themselves, even if they are pointing most of the finger at you. If you're fighting a lot and they're still having those conversations with you, these are still green flags, okay? If there's times where things are calm and they're able to come back with you and settle down and have a deeper moment with you, and not only when you're actively dopamine flooding them so they feel good, it's not just like, hey, come get some sugar water, little hummingbird. No, it's let's actually sit together and share some time together between those big fights. These are more green flags that I start looking for, okay? So if you're not seeing those green flags, a bit of a challenge. You might be in a really rough patch, but if you're seeing any of them at all, here's a couple things that you can do to start fixing your relationship. And this is some of what I run people through in my programs, where I run through for attachment fixing, where I run coaching, where my coaches guide people as well. These are some of the practices we immediately implement with our couples, okay? They're very, very helpful things. I need you to do a couple of things in your relationship. Number one, you need to start running your relationship more like you would a business. What does this mean? Well, a business, you don't just get together and say, let's start a business. Okay, yay! And you just start a business. Well, no. What kind of business? Let's agree on that. Okay, it's a restaurant. What food are we selling? What scale are we selling at? How are we going to do that? What Michelin star status are we going through? Or is it a diner? What are we trying to do? How are we going to build this? Okay, a business aligns on a shared purpose. They have a reason to make profit, usually. Okay, what is the purpose of your relationship? So number one, the one thing I track relationships on is, what is the purpose of your relationship? Are the two of you just together to give each other good feelings till one of you dies or you both crack? That's not going to work. What is the purpose of the two of you being together? There's usually 4 types of purpose for couples, okay? One is descendants. This can be children that you have. It could be people you mentor, kids you adopt, something along those lines, but human beings, a human impact, the descendants model or the legacy model, right? The human legacy model is what I call it. Maybe you're together to have babies, grandbabies, great-grandbabies, right? I teach the 240 descendants model. If 3, 3, 3, 3, 3 down the road, right? I teach that as well. You need to track those people, your descendants. You need to be aware of them. You need to make decisions based on what's best for that model, if that's the purpose of what you're trying to get together to do. So number one, the descendants model, okay? Number 2 is a shared cause or purpose that you are pursuing together. It might be building a company together, supporting a nonprofit together. Maybe you want to feed orphans on the streets of India. Wonderful. That's fantastic. Maybe it's to start a nonprofit that cares for people or cares for animals. It's to advance some sort of legitimate cause. Could be a religious cause, but it's a cause that you are both pursuing. It's not necessarily about human beings you're going to raise or train or care for yourselves. There's a deeper cause you're serving. Okay. Number 3 is your own self-improvement. So the two of you together are on a mutual journey of self-improvement. This could also be religious, but it's not supporting the cause. It's getting each other to heaven kind of thing, so to speak, whatever religion you might be following. It's continuous growth and self-improvement across a lifetime. We will be the best human beings we could possibly be, and we will achieve that best together through love, nurturing, and accountability. And the 4th is survival. Surviving against all odds, right? Like hardcore, brutal, like frontier sort of survival. The two of you against the world. Now, it can be any mixture of these 4. Your relationship could have all 4 of them. It could have 3 of them. It could have it has to have 1 usually, but these are the 4 types of purpose that a couple needs to unify around. The reason you have to have a shared purpose is so that you have a way to make decisions based on not just what feelings do we have today, but that's our agreed upon purpose. How can we both navigate toward that? That needs to guide you. Now, another thing that a business has is a culture. The way we have a purpose, then we have the way we will reach that purpose, the way we will treat each other, and the way we operate and connect with each other inside of our company in the best way of reaching that purpose. Okay? I call this the 6 pillars of a relationship. You need to sit down and have 3 non-negotiables that each one of you has that you then mix together into 6 non-negotiables. It might be, I want us to prioritize the well-being of our children. It might be physical intimacy twice a week, minimum. It could be transparent and honest communication at all times. It could be peaceful and fast conflict resolution. It could be living in Hawaii forever. Whatever your non-negotiables are, you need the culture of your business. This is tough for most people because they come in when they're fighting already. They don't come in for premarital coaching as often as I'd like. That'd be great, and I do offer it. I just want to make that clear. Me and my coaches will help there. You don't have to come in on the edge of disaster. But if you come in and you're fighting, most people are now, I don't want this. None of this. No more of this. Never this. And the absence of things is not a culture. The absence of things is not a culture. You can't just sit there not doing things for the rest of your life. What do I do? What are the opposites of that? And they also can't be things like, I need to feel loved. Fantastic. That's great. What does that mean? This is why I teach the what, why, and how often method to make your needs more measurable. So a lot of times the couple comes in and they say, well, I don't know what my needs are or what I want or my non-negotiables. Well, just not this. No more of this. Well, I need to feel loved. And they've been doing this for 10, 15 years. This is the reason they're on the edge of the divorce. Okay. We build the shared purpose. Then we help them clarify those non-negotiables. I need to feel loved as a non-negotiable. Fantastic. Then these are the two things that make me feel loved. This is how often I need them. And this is why they're important for me and the goodness that they will bring to the relationship. Cool. Now that's way more measurable. What, why, and how often method. Remember that and start using that. When you have those the six integrate like this and they now apply to everybody. Everybody needs to feel loved. Everybody needs that clear, transparent communication. Everybody needs to be going toward the shared purpose. Okay. 6 pillars of the relationship. So the culture, and then the shared purpose that you're driving toward, and then making your decisions continuously toward those purposes. Once you do this, now I need you to start having weekly check-ins to make sure things are moving in the right direction. I run a business on the back end and I have my staff, and hello staff. You guys are fantastic. Thank you for being you. But we have check-ins continuously, minimum once a week on Mondays. I also have checkup with my coaches to make sure their cases are going properly, minimum of a couple times a week. I have check-ins with my assistant. Hello, assistant. I have check-ins with a lot of the people on my team to make sure we're moving in the right direction, that projects are going forward, that there's no giant snags that I'm not aware of, that everybody isn't quietly dealing with their own suffocation and fires that nobody else knows about until it blows up and kills us all. You have to continuously check in as a business. Imagine a business that operated with no meetings for 5 years. What would happen to that business? Yes, that cringe feeling you're feeling right now, that's running a marriage with no business meetings for 5 years. Weekly check-ins of 10, 15 minutes, okay? One thing I encourage people to do in those check-ins is say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling in our relationship this week? Right? 1 being like, man, I wish we were both dead. And 10 being like, I am so blissfully happy. I wish I could marry you a second time. Right? Stuff like there's that scale instead of, how you feeling? Fine. Yeah, me too. Right? And you're both like, I wish I was dead. That's not going to work. You have to make sure that you're working together and understand where each other is at. You also can't not ask these questions. And a lot of relationships are held together by spit and string and hope and, frankly, ignorance, because they're like, well, if we don't acknowledge there's a problem, then no one will say the D word for divorce. No, you need to know that there's a serious problem coming. Otherwise, someone's going to say it eventually in a moment of heat and anger and frustration and sadness. So have those weekly check-ins like you would in a business. How are we doing toward our goals? What's preventing us from getting there? What issues do we both see? How are we doing on our 6 pillars? Is that all taken care of? Are our needs balanced? How's your department doing? Here's my department. What budget additions do you need? You're doing great. Fantastic. I love to hear that. How can we make sure we keep you on track with that? Okay, you've got a challenge this week. What can we do to step in and make sure that we're resolving that for you? My department's doing this. Can I get some help? Right? Just check in. Just check in as human beings. Run your marriage like a business, or your relationship. If it's a long-term relationship, not a marriage, run it like a business. And then start clarifying a lot more with a spirit of curiosity. Don't assume. One of the biggest challenges I get is couples who come in and say, well, what do I do when he's quiet and it makes me think that he doesn't like me? So then I start trying to do this thing to make him feel better, but then it frustrates him because he thinks I'm chasing him for attention and approval. So then he pulls back, and then that makes me feel like, well, pause. When you noticed that he seemed strange, why didn't you pause and say, hey, it seems a little strange to me. Something's a little off. What's going on and how can I help? Step in with a spirit of curiosity. Don't assume things. The worst things couples do is assume and then act upon them and then frustrate each other and then go off in the wrong direction over and over and over and over for 10 years. Stop. Clarify. Be curious. Avoidant people do this. They don't ask questions either. They silo off. They study you and see, right, the side glance that you're doing something weird. And then they try to figure out how to navigate around you and provoke better feelings so that you won't be weird. But anxious people do this just as badly. And then they assume that it's their fault and that someone's mad at them. So then they play endless checkup and catch up and try to make the other person like them without ever acknowledging that, wait, maybe that's not the case. So then the avoidant person feels constantly provoked. Stop and check in. Stop and clarify. Ask questions. Check in once a week, but also just check in on occasion. Hey, something seems like it's off. What's going on? Hey, I noticed this. Tell me more. What's going on? Tell me more is an amazing phrase that couples don't use enough. When I come in and start helping couples, this is usually the first and second session right here. Okay, where are you off? You're miserable there. You're miserable there. You're miserable there. Okay, I write them all down. Say, these are all the places these are the skills that are completely missing and the things we have to fix immediately. Okay? Shared purpose will reunify you in the proper direction. Now we have a goal that we can make decisions toward. What should I do? What's best for that decision? Okay, that purpose. Number 2, the non-negotiables. Are we tracking those each week? Number 3, are we doing a weekly check-in to make sure that the progress is continuous? This adds bonding elements of vasopressin for solving problems and overcoming challenges, but also prevents fires. Well, we didn't talk about this for 2 years, and now it's a life or death. Well, why the hell did you not talk about it for 2 years? That is 104 weeks. That is 104 weekly huddles that you failed to go through, and you could have caught it at any of those 104 checkpoints. You did not for 104 times. Imagine if any of those 104 times you had stopped and caught it. Okay, weekly check-ins. That's 52 weekly check-ins per year. Imagine if you never had to have a problem go longer than a week ever again for the rest of your life. Imagine if you never had to feel bad for longer than a week about anything because you would work together collaboratively to solve it. And then clarifying more, right? Instead of staying trapped inside your head, if you wonder, if you're overthinking, if you're guessing, ask a question. This is session 1. Session 2, when I work with couples. Do this together in your relationship. And guys, yes, I recognize that this is challenging. I know that this is a lot, but this is the pathway to building an amazing relationship. Now, I will say this as well, an offer of help. I'm offering direct service and help. For me and my coaches, we're happy to assist you. A lot of times you do need a third party to go through a lot of this because you've built what's called a cortisol association against each other. That means that your hearts love each other, but your brains hate each other and have miscategorized you as enemies. Because when you try to solve problems, the other person gets in the way and floods you with cortisol. So now your brain says, get them out of my way so I can solve problems away from them. Then I'm willing to talk to them. And your heart loves them and your heart and your brain are ripping apart. If you feel like enemies, it's going to be almost impossible for you to do this by yourself. You need a third party. People come in, a third party steps in, and they translate back and forth to get you on the same path over time. And if you don't trust each other, you can both trust that third party and unify around that. Use the same skills. A lot of time, the husband and wife trust me more than they trust each other. Then we build that. Then you vasopressin bond and oxytocin bond by solving problems, getting that intimacy together. You fall back into that deep, loving intimacy that you had before. You resolve the problems permanently. Then you build your marriage business going forward to be thriving. Not in the red, but deep into the black, and everything's healthy and you're not bankrupt anymore. You're prosperous. Imagine a prosperous marriage after 8 coaching sessions. Okay. That's the process here. Again, it just takes time. And it does usually take some help. So join my program for couples coaching. I offer it myself. My coaches are certified and trained and ready to help you do this. This is not couples therapy. You are not going to be talking about how you feel, how it makes you feel. You're not going to be bashing each other. We're not going to unify with the woman, then beat the guy over the head while they both sit there miserable. That's not what this is. This is practiced couples coaching to help you get in, rebuild your structure, and get out with a happier marriage for life. So if you need that, please, I welcome you to send me an email at support@adamlanesmith.com or go on my website, adamlanesmith.com. Check it out. I do have my client success managers ready for you to contact. They'll share some options with you or drop a comment down below. Ask questions. Let me know if this process feels overwhelming. Let me know if you've done this process and it worked out for you. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. If this has been helpful, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, and come to my live events. I would love to connect with you there as well. I'm glad to spend this time with you. Please let me know what questions you have. And until the next video, take care of your relationship.